Welcome to Buy the House, Build the Home.
Welcome.
We're
We're back.
Special guest today.
Special guest today.
I'm
yes.
special.
I will introduce Brett. Brett is a bit of a guru. You're so interesting to me. Every time I hear him talk, I'm like, wow. You have been in film for how long? Have you been in film world?
Long time.
Long
Over 20
time.
years.
And has gotten into real estate investing. And so we just want to pick your brain, have a conversation, hear a little bit about you, what you do, tips, tricks, whatever you want to share. So maybe start off by just telling the audience a little bit about yourself and who you are, where you came from, how you got here.
Oh, man.
Just a small.
Can you make it a
loaded
little
question.
bit smaller?
Where are you from originally? Where were you born? Let's start there.
All right, yeah. I was born in Irving, Texas.
Whoa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Where the Dallas Cowboy Stadium used to be.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
I
When we
grew up 5
actually
minutes from
this was probably when we actually were a decent football team.
Oh,
We were
wow.
amazing.
In the
You
90s.
just said that.
I know it's
Yes.
a problem because
Okay.
it's true. We haven't won in a long time. Being a Cowboys fan is not for the faint of heart. It's very
It's
difficult.
tough.
100%.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. That's
Because we never
yeah.
suck, so we're never so
Rangers.
bad. We're always like pretty go Rangers. We're never so bad that like we're the
just
worst.
choke.
We just are. We get close, and it gets your
Yeah.
hopes up, and but then we can't.
Yeah.
You know, I've got something that would probably offend most of your viewers.
Okay.
But I think it might be more of the some of the viewers. Did I say viewers?
Yeah. Well.
Well,
that's okay.
audience. Some of your audience.
Yeah, they can view.
It could be maybe the person that owns the team.
Jerry.
Oh man.
Well,
Yeah.
I feel like I heard a rumor recently that he was going to sell it. Did I hear?
I don't think so. I mean,
feel-
he
How
set
old
up
is
his
he, though?
son.
He's gotta
Well,
be-
no. His son's like.
Oh.
I thought he was always like
The heir to the
grooming.
throne.
Yeah.
Grooming.
Yeah. it is straight up grooming.
It is. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Anyway, so
yes.
born and raised in Irving, Texas.
Wow, that was tangent. That was class
Told you
A
I'd do
tangent
that.
right there.
Cowboys.
It's good.
It's okay. It's a little
Yeah.
history.
Weed
here.
and boys. Go Cowboys.
Yes.
There's my plug. Go ahead.
Go Cowboys. So I born in Irving, grew up there, and then actually went to A&M
Okay.
to study aerospace engineering.
Wow.
And
Aerospace
realized very
So you're
quickly,
smart.
not really,
Oh, yeah, okay.
because I didn't finish.
Oh, no.
I then transferred out to Pepperdine because I wanted to be an actor. So I went out to the West Coast to
Pepperdine,
Pepperdine, yeah.
campus is stunning.
It's beautiful.
Yes.
I had a friend that went out there to do the same thing, like modeling and acting. But I don't even think he went to Pepperdine, but he stayed with a family that was like right there or something. So I drove past it a
gorgeous.
couple of times and I'm like, oh my gosh.
yeah, absolutely gorgeous. But,
Okay. So Pepperdine.
But yeah, so
and then-
Pepperdine to acting, and then
Acting.
had my years of quasi stardom on a soap opera, and then
Which soap opera? You can't.
No, this is what I'm telling you. It's so interesting.
You can't drop that.
no, it's actually not that great. But As the World Turns, that's the one
That's
I was
a big
on.
one.
I don't think I watched that one.
I know that one.
So they shot in Brooklyn, so I was out in New York, and then kind of bounced back and forth between LA and New York for 20 years or so, and then basically got married, had a surprise pregnancy, then it was a surprise of twins. And
Surprise pregnancy of twins.
Yes, and
Yes.
Amazing.
Here we're
Yeah.
on number set of 2 of twins. Correct?
Yes,
as
right.
Well?
Yeah, my wife is now
Potentially.
pregnant with
Oh
our
my
second.
God.
We do
So,
twins really well.
Congratulations.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I mean, what are the odds? I would like to know the
I mean,
statistics on
it's
that.
amazing.
I looked it up actually.
Oh,
because,
wonderful. Bring
So
it.
our first set was to do this ranking that we did. So we did identical the first one.
Okay.
Then we had a singleton, which
Okay.
is
A singleton.
a normal.
Cute.
A normal.
Everyone has one,
child.
right? We just don't know how that's done.
Yeah.
So then we have a singleton, and then to have a fraternal twin come after that is a 0.008% chance.
Whoa.
Nice.
Yeah.
Look at you.
So
I
we
love
nailed it.
You
We
nailed
got
it.
that one.
I
yeah.
love it. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like 1 out of 250,000, I think, is what it is. So,
Wow.
That's
That's
crazy.
amazing.
so that's why we're here.
Yeah. So you moved from New York
Right.
to Texas.
To Texas.
Back to the
Back to
homeland.
Tejas. Yeah.
You just needed a lot more space with
Oh
all
my
the
goodness.
children.
My wife was like, listen, I know that you're all New York and stuff, but I am not, and I am not
Yeah.
doing kids in this city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
It's
like, well,
tough.
how about Jersey? She's like, no.
No.
If we're moving to Jersey, we might as well go back to Texas.
Yeah.
So she's from California, and me being here, it just made more sense. The DFW area is still a
in between.
metropolis.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Absolutely.
metropolitan, and
Yeah,
so I was like, yeah, that sounds great. You know,
Yeah.
you have the best of both worlds, right? You have
Yeah.
the land and you have the city. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's why we're back here and
back here.
had to make things happen. And so I actually got started with a production company here because I got into producing. And so that's where I was a line producer, which basically means the person that comes up with the budget for things. And so working for Budweiser and Houston Astros and
Ew.
some of these
Astros.
Houston Astros, yeah.
I'm from Texas, but we don't like the Astros here in Dallas. Dallas
Exactly.
and Houston have a bit of a rivalry, but
Yes. they
anyways,
do.
continue.
They do.
Budweiser, Houston
go
Astros.
Rangers. Yeah.
Go Rangers.
So I was just basically doing producing and trying to figure out something else, to be quite honest, because it just wasn't what I dreamed for myself was not happening here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And there for a moment, I was traveling a lot for work, where I was traveling, as I was telling you guys before, I was traveling out to Georgia to build sets and help sort of produce stuff out there, work as an art director and on movie sets. And that was sort of like the dream, like, hey, I'd be really cool if my life like revolved around the film world. And I just saw how, I had my twins that were 3 and then my son that was 6 months. And, I would be gone for a couple months and come back and they'd grow up. I mean, they grew up so fast at that age anyway. And I was just like, man, this is not okay. This is not why I wanted to do this. And so family's meant a lot to me. So I was trying to find ways of making money here.
Yeah.
And so back in 2000, that's whenever my wife was really excited about real estate and Bigger Pockets podcast. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to that. And she was just all about it. Said we had to get rentals and blah, blah, blah. And I was sort of like, well, that's just more work for me. You know?
Like, how are we going to do that?
How are we going to do that?
We got to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
Oh, totally. And so after we started like making offers on places, but they were sort of like half-hearted offers, like, I hope we get this, but also I'm okay if we don't.
I hope we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Figure it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we didn't really start getting into like, okay, seriously, let's give this a shot until 2021.
Okay.
And we were putting, 20, 30, I remember it was like 27% over asking.
Yeah, that market
And
was
we
crazy.
still wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so dumb. So 2022 rolls around and I'm done with shooting projects in Georgia. I'm trying to make something happen here. And we finally get a place in Grapevine.
Okay.
And we overpay by probably, I don't want to do the numbers because it's stupid, but I was like, yeah, we got this. And my realtor that I was working with, he was like, yeah, you got this, man. Like this, you're going to nail this thing. And then of course in 2020, like
The market
just tanks. And so I'm probably skipping way ahead than the question you asked me.
No, that's fine. This is great.
This is the journey.
This is the journey.
Yeah.
This is the journey. I bought it I bought it 2 years ago to the day.
To the day?
To the day.
way.
May
May
10th.
10th?
May 10th.
Love it.
It was my
God.
grandmother's
What
birthday,
are
and
the
also I'm like
odds?
signing all these papers.
And then you're on Build the House or Buy the House, Build
Exactly.
the Home.
Wow, look-
I love it. What are the odds?
But yeah, I buy this house. By the way, buying a house is the most uneventful thing ever. Like all the money you put into that, it's just like all you get is like some person coming over to your house saying, sign here, sign here, sign here.
Oh yeah, you did a mobile notary. Then.
Yeah,
you didn't go
yeah.
to the title company.
No,
If
no.
you go to the title company to close, it's a bit more of an event.
Is there,
'Cause they
like,
give you like a big key
Cheese
to
and
hold.
wine or something?
Sometimes
or?
they have like mimosas or something.
mimosas,
but
They can
that's
do a
good.
little
most of
bit
the
of
Yeah.
a celebration for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but it is just a lot of signing.
It was
signing your
like
life
nothing.
away.
I was like offering the whatever you call the person that like stamps
notary.
it. Notary, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you call it.
Like, do you want me to make you a homemade meal?
Totally. I was like,
some
hey, my wife
quesadillas?
made some
Do you-
like brownies. Do you want
Yeah,
some
do you want
brownies?
some?
Like, I'll get you a glass of water.
And the notaries are harder because they don't. They're just there to. They just drive
they're
around
not
with papers
connected
and
to
they,
the
they're not.
deal.
They
like,
don't care. They just get the
explaining
printouts
it to
and they
you
show
very
up.
well.
And,
Yeah.
Make sure that you're you and
Yeah, exactly.
sign
And
it
they're like,
and
we need your
stamp
ID.
it and-
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. And I was just like, so what happens now? Like how do I get the keys and what? So,
Oh,
you know,
man.
all that stuff. And she's like, you can talk to your realtor about that. I'm like, great. All right.
Yeah.
I thought there was like a handshake.
Yeah, you're like-
you know, confetti comes out of nowhere. Like, wow,
Sound
this is
came on,
amazing.
you're like,
Yeah. No.
That's
no,
funny.
no,
That's funny.
exactly.
That's not everyone's experience though, but
This is true.
it's because a lot of times
Yeah.
the realtor will come with you and they'll
Yeah.
bring you a present.
There'll
and
be a
all the
bit
things.
more of a
Yeah.
production.
Well, but it's
on the side
also
of it.
like, so the realtor that I work with, he's like he's buying 4 houses this week, right? So like for him, like
Yeah.
his investment stuff.
Yeah.
So like it's very much of like, hey, I'm gonna stop by the grocery store and pick up, you know, some hamburger buns. Like, do you want me to buy you a house for you as well?
Right,
Like,
yeah.
that's basically
Right,
what
I'm
he's
already
doing.
doing
It's
this.
commonplace.
Yes,
for,
exactly.
for him.
Yeah.
So for that, like that time, it was just really like sort of uneventful, but
Right,
normal.
Yeah.
Now, were you buying a house just as a rental, or were you buying a house that was like distressed to then fix up and keep as a rental, or to flip? What were you doing in
So-
this first house?
What I learned is to have options before you get into
Yeah.
before you put any money down, have ideas of how you could get out.
Yeah.
Basically.
The exit strategy.
Yes, exactly. So I was like, I'm going to flip this thing.
Okay.
And the goal was to get some capital going
Yeah.
and, you know, sort of do that again right away, whatever. I saw how whenever you're in something that, say it's like 3 to 6 months, how fast a market could change in that,
Yeah.
and how you really need to have like not just one strategy to get out, but
Yeah.
like several.
Yeah.
And so at one point in
Time is
time-
really the enemy when you're doing these types of things. Can
Yes.
be.
And-
if you're
Yes.
trying to flip.
Yes.
And
If you're holding
especially
time
at that time after a pandemic and everybody and their mom moving to Texas. That
Yeah.
that time frame you're talking about is a
yeah.
very specific time frame, 2021, 2022. Where,
Yes, exactly. And that's also like, you have to take that into account, right? And so what I kept on hearing on Bigger Pockets is like, hey, you know, you're missing out on the time. Like, get in now, even though it's hard, get in now, and then you'll learn your lessons, whatever. Which I can't say now that where I'm sitting
the other
now.
side, you're like, okay.
Yes, okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. But at the time I was just like, man, I'm about to lose like 70K. And this is not fun. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure it could have been worse.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I don't know. I talked to my wife and I was like, hey, you know, like I'm turning this, it was 1,100 square feet, I think.
Okay.
And then I
Okay.
turned it into 15.
Okay.
Okay.
So I
Convert the garage.
converted half of the garage.
Okay.
And then I don't know how, like, appraisers, I don't know, you know, how they find their square footage, because everyone's got their own little system, whatever.
Yeah.
The guy that did the first one said 1,100. The guy that did it, it's, you know, a 300 square foot garage. You know, it's like tiny.
Yeah.
And that added, you know, 400 square feet. So whatever.
I feel like every appraiser does it a little bit differently too,
Yeah.
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
from
yeah.
what
Yeah.
I've seen.
Exactly. But that was something for me. I was just okay. And then thankfully and I don't recommend this, but it worked out for us. It's like that 0.008%
Yeah.
chance of getting
Yeah.
twins again. Yeah.
Yeah.
We over renovated
Okay.
because we were going to be moving into it.
Oh, okay.
And so like my wife was like, well, shoot, like I want this to look nice. I don't
Yeah.
want it to be like, you know, lipstick on a pig. Right.
Yeah.
Not that we were doing that, because I actually can't do that. That's like against every bone in my body. My genetics just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Which makes you a great investor then, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For people to buy from.
Yeah.
Because I know my husband and I have personally bought now 2 flips to live in. Like we
Okay.
haven't bought the house distressed and then flipped it, but we've bought them as flips. One of them being this one. And both, especially the first one, they kind of put lipstick on a pig. Now, we got inspections, we did all the things that we were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it has caused quite a bit of issue.
Oh,
and I've
sure.
noticed that they're quite frequent like that. So when you do find an investor that's willing
Yeah.
to go, you know what, I am going to spend the extra $5,000 to actually make this right, or the
Yeah.
extra $10,000 or whatever
Yeah.
to make this a great home for someone. I think that's a beautiful foundation as a person to have and
Yeah.
to bring to the table
Yeah.
for a buyer, because ultimately that's going to make the neighborhood better. That's going to make everything better, even if you're maybe losing a little bit off the top, or if the individual is having to pay a little bit more on the back end. So
Well, to me, it's maybe I'm just selfish because I like to sleep at night. And
You have
that's
a
not
conscience.
selfish. You have
really-
integrity.
yeah,
That's
I
great.
don't want
Yeah.
to. That's where I just
You
like,
don't want to
hey,
cut corners and
Yeah,
end up hurting
exactly.
someone.
Exactly.
Causing, pain in their life because you
Yeah.
decide that you're going to make this way cheaper. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
you're just doing it the right
Yeah.
way and not
love it.
And I think that's also what's nice having other sources of income is that I'm not solely dependent upon like
that.
that $5,000. Okay, well, I want the $5,000 because if I don't, then
Right,
my kids
right.
can't do this or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, if I already have that $5,000 coming in from a different source of income,
yeah.
then it's like, well, yeah, like I want someone to appreciate that house. And
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm also like, I was thinking about this. I have weird thoughts. My wife tells me this all the time. She's like, the things that you think about, I'm like, what's going on in your brain? I'm also like a weird jukebox guy. Like, I will wake up singing some like Nelly Furtado song.
Okay.
And then
I mean,
I do
it's
that.
Nelly Furtado.
I do that
so-
sometimes.
by
I can
breakfast,
understand
it's
that.
like the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh.
You know, like it. And
Okay,
my wife's
okay.
like, where?
What's happening?
Where were you just now? Was that like time travel?
I feel
like
like
short-circuiting
I feel like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
a little
exactly.
bit. It's like all of a sudden you're
Yeah.
singing "Baby" by Justin Bieber, and you're like,
Oh, man.
"Whoa, where's
So funny. I had a boss. This was probably 10 years ago, but I'm kind of like that, where a song will just come up and out of me. And he was like, "You have music Tourette's." He told me that one day, and I was like,
oh, music,
Music
Tourette's.
Tourette's.
There you go.
"Thanks."
I've never heard that.
Great phrase.
I know.
Great phrase.
I was like, "All right, I can work with that." I
That's
guess.
awesome. What's actually funny too is that my son I think has the same thing
Okay.
Passed it on.
because
Genetics.
and that's what she said. She's like, man,
You got it too.
but I do sort of like you know, and he's like belting it out.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. You know, just like walking like,
Good.
wow, buddy, it's like 6:30 in the morning.
He's like, "Yeah, so wake up."
Yeah, exactly right. Jimi Hendrix style.
That's so great.
But yeah, I have no idea. What was
You
it?
So you
said
were
it-
bought it to move into. So you didn't cut any corners. So you ended up over renovating because
Yeah.
you guys were going to live there.
I think
And
you
was
were
that how-
talking about interesting thoughts as well.
Yes, interesting thoughts. And
regarding like doing it well.
yes, doing it well. Yes, right. So
We found it.
one of my random thoughts that I had.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was a drink. I might actually still be around, but like I think it's called like Fruitopia or
Fanta. Don't you want
what's
a
it?
Fanta?
Fanta. That's pretty good too. Maybe it was actually Snapple.
Okay.
I love Snapple.
Okay,
Wait,
Snapple's
I'm
amazing.
about to be destroyed.
But no.
Okay,
It's
okay.
it's amazing. But they used to have this like random acts of kindness thing where like you take the lid off of it and you look underneath it and it would be like, this is a random act of kindness. Like, and it would tell you about something as a random act.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's amazing. And so I've always been that sort of guy that's like, hey, what would be really fun to like give somebody today?
Yeah.
You know? And so I actually enjoy that. It's like worth the money to pay for that
Yeah.
Right.
to give that. So
Yeah.
it's a weird story.
No,
whatever.
yeah.
But that's why I don't have a problem putting $5,000
Going an
more
extra
into
mile.
a house because it's like a fun thing for me.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm paying for that. Like
Yeah.
some people like to go to Six Flags, you know, like
Yeah.
I'd rather do that.
Right.
So,
It's an
Right.
investment not only into the house, but the future owners.
Yeah.
And you're excited about investing into the people that
Yeah.
are coming
exactly.
into the space. Yeah.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
fun for me. But
So that house, you got it all renovated, moved
Yes.
into.
Yes.
But did you buy it as a home to live in, or did you buy it as a rental property?
so I bought it to flip.
Okay, that's right.
And that's what I wanted to do with it. And then because the market was tanking, I was like, well, shoot, if you're like we're losing money on this
Yeah.
thing, I might as well wait. So
Yeah.
we're going to move into it for say 2 years.
Okay.
And then, you know,
Yeah.
no capital gains tax whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
after
yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
And then hopefully the market's better by that time, so we'd make some money
Level
off of
out.
it.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and we are just like, it's just too small. It's just too small for where we were, what we were trying to do. It did have a good backyard, but it just didn't make sense for us. So we started thinking about turning it into a rental.
Okay.
And moment of truth here, you wanted me to be real on this thing. Moment of truth. I couldn't qualify because I had renovated it to a certain level that was out of my price range.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I was just like, oh shoot, like now I'm really screwed.
Yeah, what do we do
and
now?
and I tried to do a commercial loan as
Yeah.
well, and they said, well, because your history, this was like a sketchy time in the market as well, so
Yeah.
people were really starting to like lock up loans and stuff.
Yeah.
But they were like, well, your company's from New York, and so like we don't really deal with New York companies, and I was like, well, but like I don't know what you're saying. Like, could you
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
that in English?
Yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, what do you?
And it was just like this weird moment. I was like, man, like, let's just list it. Let's see what we get.
Yeah.
And if it's awful, then
Pull it. And
pull it. Yeah,
we'll figure it
exactly.
out.
And then we'll figure something else out. And it was a hard money loan. I had a really good rate on the hard money loan. The guy is so
Did
funny.
you do everything, or did you bring the down payment to the table? Like, what did you bring to the table when you did
so
the
I
hard money
brought
loan?
about half cash
Okay.
to the deal.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to pay a whole bunch on hard money.
in the interest.
Now, granted, this is a really funny story, though. All right. So I'm like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. This is my first time to get a hard money loan.
Right.
And the realtor I'm working with is like a mentor of mine. He says, give this guy a call. He'll give you a great deal, whatever. So I call him up and I'm like, hey, calling you. Like, this guy told me to call you for a hard money loan. The guy started talking. I didn't say a word after that. He started talking. He said, okay, well, it's going to be, it's going to be 4 points, 12%. And, so you're with this guy. So let's do 3 points and, 11%. We'll do 11%. What did I say? 3 points or 2 points? Okay, we'll do 2 points.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, when do you think you? And he just like starts like spatting all this
Yeah.
stuff. I got away with 10 points, or sorry, 10%, 1 point.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, okay.
You're like, yes,
Thank you.
I mean,
where do I sign?
Oh no, you got to play hard to get. I was like, well, he's like, well, I mean, I'm sorry, I can't do any less than these. This is like the first. If you do another deal with me, we'll do like 8%. And I was like, well, okay. I'm like, what? What just happened? So we got it for 10%, and it was. I was like, man, this is like, wow, this is amazing. And
Yeah.
everyone else was getting like 15%.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, okay, this is great. So with all that, I mean, granted, the renovation took much longer.
Yeah.
I was hiring people to start to do it, but they were, as the market was going, it would be cheaper if I did it.
Yeah.
So the only thing basically I didn't do was, it was a complete gut renovation. It was 1964 build. Everything. Like I moved plumbing around. I rewired the entire house, new box, new air conditioner, new vents.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was
You
like
did the
crazy.
whole thing.
This wasn't
Yeah.
just like cosmetic. You're talking about
Yeah.
structural
I
foundation.
went in
Exactly.
and I painted some walls.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that.
No. Which is like, I liked the challenge, but I also was like, man, like I feel like I'm not doing the thing that I wanted to do. Like by getting into real estate, I'm not doing it because I'm doing all the work.
Right.
Yeah.
And not that I used to build sets, so I'm like,
Yeah.
It's not about
You
that.
can
That
do it.
wasn't your
Yeah.
original
Plan.
end goal.
Yeah.
or
right,
plan.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I do know how to build things. I know how to throw ammo around, right? So which is a funny story about Seth actually. Side
We have
story.
to get into that.
We'll get around
Yeah.
later. But I asked for a screwdriver one time and he brought me a wrench.
Oh. Yeah, we just-
Yeah.
That's
This is on
amazing.
camera too. This
Yeah,
is great.
I love
This
it.
one's not going away. So I was having to learn how to do a lot of the things because
On the go.
because time's ticking, right?
Yeah.
That hard money loan, even though it's a good rate, I'm
Yeah.
still having to pay that
Yeah.
for a month.
Yeah.
And the market was tanking.
Yeah.
So every day was a struggle, but I was able to. I had a sort of a wealth of investors to sort of talk to and say, like, how would you do this or how would you do that? And of course, they're right in the middle of the same thing as well. So they're not
Yeah.
like, yo, go ahead and use my plumber. It's fine. Go ahead and take my electrician. But it was like, I went through 3 different electricians, one of which told me he could get permits. Now, the lady that issues permits for the city of Grapevine was 2 doors down.
Okay.
And I'm so thankful.
From the house?
From the house.
Wow.
So I'm so thankful that the owner knew that.
Yeah.
And I was like, sweet, like this is gonna
Like
gonna
knocking
be,
on her door every day. You're like, right now,
yeah,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
amazing woman. And she was really bummed. She actually called me whenever we put the house up on the market. She said, hey, I see a house, for sale. I thought you and your wife were gonna move in because she met my wife, she met our
Yeah.
kids.
You'd built some relationship
And
by that time.
I tell you what, like it's one of those. So there's other houses that I've done since. That's the only one that I've questioned whether we should have actually moved in or not, because it was such a great community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, granted, the first 2 weeks were the worst. Oh my goodness. Talk about like, so I buy the house and like the people of the street think it's like theirs. And they're like walking in the front door like, hey, what you doing now? And I'm just like, do I walk in your house?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You know, it's awkward, but it's like, but from that, I got to know, oh my goodness, I'm not going to say anybody's name because they totally know, you know, everything, but it's, I got to know so many people on the street.
Yeah.
And actually I saw one of them at Quick Card. I was getting my inspection done and I was like, hey, she's like this German lady. She's like, oh, it's Brett. How are you doing? And I'm like, oh, wait, hey, good.
Cute.
Yeah.
I love that.
But yeah, so it was a moment in time where I realized that I was in the heated pot, right? Or whatever the analogy is. That's a bad one.
Boiling.
The boiling pot,
Yeah.
the heated
Pot,
pot.
is that what
the
we're-
heat. It's not quite boiling.
Were you the frog in there?
Yeah, I was the frog.
Like, yeah.
Ooh, it's getting kind of toasty. Yeah. But I was realizing that, but it was probably one of the hardest things I had done in my life, just given the pressure that I had.
Yeah.
Like this had to work out. Now, granted, we actually walked away with profit, so
My
that was a huge
gosh.
blessing.
And that's just from listing it, correct?
Yeah, so you listed it and
you
you
got
ended
Exactly. So we listed that one. It was a crazy thing. So I was trying to move into it or turn it into a rental.
Yeah.
At the same time, I said, let's just list it. So we listed it. And then the appraiser from the bank that I was trying to get the loan from, they sent, this appraiser out there, he valued it at like almost $500 a square foot. And I was just like, what?
That's crazy.
So it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
The offers that came through when we listed that house on market were like $100,000 less than what we listed it as. And then whenever that report came through, I called my realtor right away. I was like, bro, like, this is insane. He
Yeah.
thinks this house is worth this much.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll use that as leverage. So he called all the
Yep.
people that put
Yep.
an offer in and then used
Just so
that
you know,
report.
we have an appraisal with this amount on there. I've done that.
Exactly. Like, a third party, that's the bank.
Yeah,
It's not even
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And they all said, I want to see it. And so everyone saw it.
Oh, how
and,
fun.
and the funny thing is that there was an investor like 7 houses down from that I got to know really well, like family friend now. But he was like, this is like months later. He's like, hey man, can I see that report that they,
Yeah.
they
Can you
gave
pass
you of
that
that
my
house?
way?
Because I have another house down the street and I
might
want to
wanna-
use that to
yeah.
like as
Oh,
leverage.
yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, hey man, use it.
Go
So it
for
actually
it.
helped him
Oh,
get like
good.
well
Great.
over what he was expecting. But yeah, so because of that report
Yeah.
coming through, one of the offers said we'll match it. So
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Wow.
and we closed within.
And how long
the same
from
frame.
the start, from your close date of purchasing to you closing again? How long?
6 months, almost
6
exactly.
months. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was what I was told that was really fast because I was doing all the work.
Yeah.
And that was my first one.
Right.
Yeah.
And to go through sort of like the hell that I went through. Now, granted, I'm used to working long hours, being on set where you're like a 12-hour day
Yeah.
is like a short one.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's sort of like my work ethic and stuff is like when you go in hard and you get
Yeah.
it done. But I saw how much that was changing of my well, I should say nothing really changed because I was then still working like 15
Right.
hour days
Yeah.
and not seeing my kids.
Yeah.
I just wasn't in a different state.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was something I was like, you know what? When I do this again, it needs to look
We got
very
to do it
different.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I'm very glad I did.
You had that experience.
Like I would say I did 90% of the work. And the reason why I'm glad is because when I was first getting bids from plumbers and stuff, I was just trying to like BS my way through it. Like there's only so many YouTube videos you can watch
Yeah.
before you're just like, every house is built differently and you
Yeah.
have no idea like what's underneath the foundation,
Right.
Yeah.
so it's like you have to be able to talk a certain jargon to your
Right.
plumber. So ended up having a really amazing plumber I went to high school with, which is crazy.
Oh, that's
We're
awesome.
standing on my roof and I was like, hey man, so where are you from? He's like, Irving. And I was like, no way. And I was like, what high school did you go to? Irving High. I was like,
No way.
well, I was kind of crazy, but
do
like,
it too. Yeah.
what year did you graduate? He was like, I can't remember what. It's a year after mine, so
Okay,
whatever.
wow.
I graduated.
You were, like,
99.
there at the
Yeah.
same time, though.
Yeah, and he was just like, I was like, this is crazy, man. I think And he's like, I was kind of like a puny little kid back then. He's like this like jacked guy now. And I was like, oh my goodness, I remember you.
Oh my gosh.
And he's like, yeah, I was kind of a band guy. I was like, dude, I don't remember you. And so he's an amazing guy. Like I'll have some, I'll call him up like, hey man, like this thing's dripping. He's like, yeah, man, just try to do this. And
Just,
sure enough,
it
like,
kind of tells you what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually want to speak to the thought of getting in there and working on the house yourself as well.
Ooh.
Because I know that wasn't your original intent,
Right. Yeah.
but it happened that way because of budget, because of time, things like that. But I do think there's a great benefit to doing that because not only are you kind of learning the craft and understanding what goes into it, but you're also not going to be taken advantage of, most likely,
Absolutely.
by the contractors you're bringing into the home to do the work.
Yep.
And so you're going to be able to, and I think you even said this at one point, but kind of speak the lingo, right?
Absolutely.
And so I don't know if you have any more thoughts around that, having experienced it, but just on the outside, I think it's great to have at least that basic knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that was probably what has saved me since. Just being able to talk to an electrician and know the verbiage to use with them, you know, like, even doing, so I did everything, everything was permitted.
Yeah.
Which is that's a big, like, I mean, that's a sensitive subject when it comes to flipping,
it
right?
is.
Yeah.
It is.
And honestly, I like that because I can sleep. I can sleep at night now,
there
you know? But that was where I think I interviewed 18 different electricians.
Wow.
And this is also during a really busy time. So I waited like 3 weeks, which that's a newbie mistake. I get that. But like I waited 3 weeks so I could see every single one of them because I'd already had one electrician tell me that he could give me a permit and he couldn't. And so I was just like, I don't know. And like, I'm finding these people off of Facebook. I'm finding them off of, friend recommendations, off of realtors. And like, I'm going to like, I cannot do this again because that cost me considerable. So I was just like, let me just figure this stuff out. But in that process, I know what a 14.2 is. Right. I know what a 10.2. I know.
And then when they're
all these
talking
different
to
gauges
you,
of wire,
when they're talking to you, they know that. They're like, oh, this guy, because sometimes they can.
Well,
take
and
advantage.
even whenever, like, and this is the thing that as a newbie, I was like, oh, well, you're a professional, so you'll do it right. That's BS.
It's not
Complete.
true.
And this is okay. The plumber friend of mine, I was having a really hard time with electrician, obviously, and I kind of went off one time in the house. Things were thrown, right? And I was just like, man, this is so pathetic. Like, why do these people have to be this pathetic? Like, just do your job.
Yeah.
You wake up every morning to do a job.
Yeah.
This is it. Just do
Well,
it.
especially when you're wired as you are, as we are,
Yeah, to
like
do
with
it
that
well and
integrity
right.
and
Yeah.
do it well. Keep going.
And he said, well, man, you got to think of it this way. These people have complete flexibility over their job. They can do it whenever they want to, and they don't really care.
Yeah.
Like
the way you do.
The way that you do. And like you do it this way, and this sort of these craftsmen, they draw a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And that's the person there. So I'm so glad he said that, because that's really, obviously it's helped me a lot to be like, hey, listen, not to be like, I do it right, they do it wrong, but it's like, hey, what do I need to do to make sure that it's done?
Yes. Yeah.
And part of that is knowing what the gauge of the wire is. So I can say, hey, bud, like you put in the wrong gauge here, man. Like that's not a 14 or that's not a 10-2. That's a 14. Like this is, and you're overseeing it in the sense of, and then they're like, oh, shoot, like,
Yeah.
he's not-
Keeping them
he's not gonna pay
accountable
me.
shapes them up a little bit.
Right,
Because,
exactly.
he knows what he's talking
Keeping
about.
them accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like there's one investor that I sort of shadowed before I really got into stuff. And he was sort of like the yell at the workers and whatever. And I was just like, I have done that, but that's not my MO. That's not every day when I go to work, or whatever. I'm not going to be that
desire.
guy.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I lose respect for people like that. And I don't want people to lose respect for me, because that's my go-to. So that's just sort of, what I learned is like it's a person and I need something done.
Yeah.
So I look at all these books over here and I'm like, I've read a lot of books about how to influence people, and there's like a mind control book that I read like years ago. I was like, how do I put that into here? But it's like there's you have an objective.
Yeah.
You got to hit that. That's not changing. you know, and learning the craft, learning, you know, I go over to a buddy's house. There's a buddy of mine who's redoing his kitchen right now. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to do this and this and this. And I was like, well, you know, your plumbing probably runs right here. And I don't know what's up here. Like, this is a drop down, but like, is that going to, you know, interfere with all these ideas that you have? And he's just like, wait, what?
I don't think that
You know,
way.
and that's like, that helps me when I walk into properties now.
You can
be
kinda
like,
see
okay,
it.
yeah, actually, we can do that. We can take this wall because I know it's not load bearing. I just walked in the attic, and it's good to go. We can throw an LVL right here. We'll be good. Like, if we need to open that space up, like it's stuff like that. That's when I first started. It was all, you know, well, Bigger Pockets said, and well, you know,
heard this
HGTV
podcast.
said,
Yeah.
whatever, and it's just like, well, that's really cool, but that a lot of stuff's fake anyway. So it's like in the real world, it doesn't work. You know, and you have to figure out a way to pivot around that. So learning the trade, I mean, I did brickwork on the outside because they had all these like cat doors and stuff, dog doors, whatever, like coming in and out of the house through brick.
Oh,
Through brick.
Nice.
There's a door like 3 feet away, but you
wonderful.
choose to go
Right.
through the brick.
Of course.
And so here I am, like, I need to patch up this brick.
Yeah.
And so, you know, taking that out, there was I put in, they had no door that went to the backyard. Like 0 doors. And so I was like, well, I think we need a door that goes to the backyard. Like, I don't know anybody that wants to walk out their front door to walk
and
around.
walk around the back. Yeah.
To go through a gate to go to their backyard. And so, you know, I hired a guy that knew masonry. And so he was able to sort of teach me some stuff. I paid him $75 an hour. Yeah. And I was just like, you're here for 2 hours, teach me everything. You know. And he was laughing. I'm like, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
And he was just like, well, how about this? You can have me the entire day, but only like 15-minute increments. He's like, I'm working at a job down the street, I'll take a mid-morning break, I'll take a lunch break, and I'll stop by here in between. And at the very end of the day, you know. And so it's like Home Depot was right. I'm like, you're actually going to Home Depot. You're not like, you know, a piece of me, and you're making money on your way to Home Depot. But he would tell me like, this is, you know, whatever. And so I would learn these things. And then at the end of the day, he actually stayed about 2 hours or so and helped me because I had a big like 2-door, whatever you call those things, that we put, like French doors we put
French doors
there to go to the outside. Yeah. And so he helped me install those because I was trying to do it myself. And he's like, come on.
You're like a little apprentice for the day.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, man, like I think I did this all right. He's like, you did it fine, man. You did awesome. Great job. So he's like, you just got to frame it in now. So it was good. But that sort of stuff is what was crucial for me. Yeah. And I, you know, like it's sort of like investing in general is not for the faint of heart, in my opinion. Yeah. Like if you get really worked up about things, don't invest. Like give that to somebody who's in a brick and mortar store and like let them manage your funds. But if you're someone that like is when things get hard, you dig in and you try to figure out a solution. I think it's a good place to be. Yeah. For anyone who's able to do that, because you learn great skills. You learn a lot of people skills in there as well. There's stuff that, you know, I like I said with my friend who's redoing his kitchen, you know, it's just you're able to bring value to people's houses and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like their biggest investment supposedly for their lives, you know, like you get to help people out, and that's something that's just kind of fun for me. It gets back to like the Snapple, you know, random act of kindness kind of thing.
The act of kindness. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, before we land the plane today, just really quick snapshot. I know you shared about this first one. And I know you've grown so much from then, but where are you at kind of now? And then if you want to throw in just a couple of tips for like, I love how you said it's not for the faint of heart, and you have to be able to be willing to kind of dig your heels in, because you don't know what's coming along the pipeline. You don't know, and every house is different. You mentioned that, and I have to say that to client time after time. Every house is different. But if you could just share a couple little tips of advice, or I wish I would have done this differently, for someone listening that might be thinking about dabbling in investing.
Yeah. Gosh, my brain totally went off in a different direction just then. I started thinking about producing. Well, in all honesty, that's really what this is you're producing, and having the, like I'm a spreadsheet guy. I hate the fact that I am, but I like things to add up and to see exactly where things are. That's just my own personality. But like, I remember I was producing this shoot for a sports team that will go unnamed. And we're in this like stadium, it's sort of like evening, dusk time, and all of a sudden the lights go out. And like, this is a high profile client, and I'm producing, and all of a sudden, like, there's no light. There's like zero. How are you going to shoot anything without any light? And it's like, even whenever you think that everything is going for you, and you're like, what could go wrong on a big beer brand's like shoot?
Yeah.
Well, things do.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's just life. And so, and that's where I think that it's just like, I just want to maybe harp on that of like, things will go wrong.
Yeah.
There is no perfect job. And if it is going perfectly,
Watch out.
Just watch out, because it's going to be
Coming.
worse. Like, you actually
Yeah.
want bad things to happen,
Yeah.
I think, because that way you have that muscle has been built up. Like,
Yeah.
it's strong. You can be like, okay, this is how I pivot. This
Right.
is how we do this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, sorry, that's where my brain went.
No, I
It's-
love that. That was good.
it's just important to be able to pivot. But yeah, so where I'm at now, I'm a how do you say this? Basically, I'm a hard money lender. I buy houses. I do less of the work. I'm there as sort of like what I did in my first house. Got a lot, like, I got sort of a reputation in the Grapevine area, and so people were really impressed with my eye. And so they're now bringing me in to help them do layouts, to do
Love that.
tile selection, paints, colors, whatever. All that has to do with, obviously, visual background that I have.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever I come in as an investor, it's basically most of the people that I work with, they're higher up. They have lots of stripes on their, on their belt.
Yeah,
Wow.
belt. Like, you
That's
say
where
that.
I was going with
Stripes
that.
on
I'm
your
like,
belt.
no,
Yeah.
that's not at all. Wow.
I mean, they could be like a black belt.
Yeah.
They could be, yes.
In the
I like
industries.
that. I
Yeah,
like
we've
that.
recovered.
Yes.
There we are.
Yes. But yeah, like I only lend out to people that have like a reputation,
Okay.
and there's not a reputation, but they have a body of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just because there's so much that needs to go through the first part
Yeah.
that I like to invest in people that are doing stuff, and I can actually impact their business in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's most of the houses that I'm buying right now. I come in. So yeah, there's a hard money lender, and then basically I cover their business costs.
Got it.
So I sort of step in that regard, which allows me to still be a part of it. We're just at a place right now, personally, where
Yeah.
we're just inundated
Yeah.
with kids and like
All the kids.
all the kids, and it's just like, because I really do enjoy it, and I actually I look forward to being able to potentially build my own house
Okay.
or build onto my
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, okay.
So that's like, I enjoy that side of it, and that's something that was awoken, with me.
Yeah.
During that first house, but that's basically what I do now.
awesome.
Is I'm buying houses. Like, I'm a part of the 4 houses that are being bought this week
Okay.
by that
Yeah.
one investor.
Okay.
And stuff, but
That's awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. And then one quick, just little piece of advice, I guess. Like, if you're trying to get started, do you suggest meeting with you mentioned earlier that you had kind of shadowed with an investor at the very, very
mentors.
beginning.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would say, if you're wanting to get started, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing first?
Ooh, man. So, I feel like it's a personality. Maybe this is what I'm going to say. Know your personality. I think that's going to help you out so much when stuff hits the fan.
Yeah.
For one, because it will. And 2, it'll also help you understand maybe where you should be involved in the process. And know that there's like, if you listen to bigger podcasts, sorry to bring BP, all the time.
Yeah.
But like, they're just go and do it, just go and do it, just go and do it. Well, yeah, that's great for some people. That's
Yeah.
not for other people.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And there's also great for some people, but it's a bad time. Like, in their
Yeah.
life, they need to be focusing on something else.
Yeah.
So what that's where it's hard for me to
Good.
answer that, because I'm
No,
one
I
of those
love
people
that.
like, I want to have a direct answer, but I don't think there's one answer that everyone can listen to. But maybe just know yourself.
Know yourself and what your limits are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are.
Absolutely.
And
Oh my goodness.
make those decisions based on that.
I would maybe wonder, just hearing you talk, is still maybe seek out somebody or a couple people that are in the industry and actually have a conversation of what does it look like from beginning to end, and then pair that with knowing your
Knowing yourself,
personality, knowing what aspect you want to be a part of. Are you the person that wants to get in there and do it?
Yes.
Or are you the person that's like, I've got 100K sitting in a savings account. I could be lending out this money privately and making interest on it, because I know that's a big part of investing as well. And you're not having to put as much on the line, especially if you've vetted the person or understand the person that's going in and doing the houses, and they have a reputation and things like that.
Yeah.
So,
and to me, that like, I know myself in that regard, where I'm at in life right now. Like I'm the second lien basically.
Yeah.
So first is hard money, and then it's me.
Yeah.
I own the house, and there's a profit share that goes along with that. So I'm safeguarding my investment by doing that. I'm not just saying, hey, there's some guy that I just saw on TV who's asking for 30K.
Yeah,
like maybe I can
go.
do that, or
Yeah.
this guy's asking for 100K. I can do that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like this. Like. Definitely be around people. I can't say that enough also, because like my main mentor, he's been with me through the thick and thin. And one of his biggest things was when I first met him, he said, this is like when he's showing me houses, he said, I'm not here to show you a house. I'm here to be a part of your life. Mm-hmm. And if there's a way that I can help you 10 years from now, I'm fine with laying the groundwork right now.
I love that.
And that's what I was just like,
that's
who are you?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Are you really a realtor, or is just like a,
that sets that person apart, because when you can have that kind of investment in a person and not just in this house, this paycheck that could come. If you look at it like that, and I always try to do that with my clients. I'm like, I want to see your kids taking their first steps on the floor. You feel invested with these people, and you do want to be a part of their life. So I love that, because that's so much more valuable than, just getting a deal done.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Just want to make that commission and get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I love that. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your journey. It made it feel very real, because like you were saying with HGTV, or maybe even some of the really big investors, that they'd probably sit down and tell you all these things, but they don't necessarily have the time at this point, because they've scaled at such a large level.
Right.
I love to hear individual stories that are in the game, that are doing it and that are successful, but have the time to like sit down and articulate what they went through. So
that you kind of got in, and the market was one way, and then the market went another way, and the way that you learned and pivoted, and how difficult that was, but then how that's really set you up for where you are today. So
life, right?
Life, right? Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. We appreciate you being on.
It's been an honor to be here. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.